All right, I believe you are live, Dr. Irgau, so I'm just going to confirm that and then we can start.
Yeah.
Yes, we are live on YouTube right now.
Good.
Good afternoon. It's January 24th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Kemal Erkan. I'm the chairman of United Medical ACO. I'm here with Dr. Isaias Irgau, who's actually on call today, and he's joining us today. This is our second session. We are doing this under the name of Friends of Tigray in Delaware. Dr. Irgau, I'd like to start with you. If you can please introduce yourself, and then we'll just start our discussion from there.
Thank you, Kamal. Very happy to be here. I am Dr. Irgau. I am a surgeon. My specialty is weight loss surgery or bariatric surgery. And as you correctly said, I am on duty, on call today. I'm covering 2 emergency rooms. So hopefully there will not be any emergency that interrupts this brief conversation today. But I'm really delighted that people are tuning in to talk about this extremely important issue. And obviously, I thank you, Kamal, for organizing this.
Thank you, Dr. Irgau. So the issue we have is, it is extremely important. Now, I do want to actually just give a little bit background for myself. I have no reason to be in this video, or in fact, to conduct this video. I have no gain, no benefit from it. I'm just doing this because it's the right thing to do. And of course, I'm doing it because I know Dr. Irgau for the last 20 years. And I understand the issues, real picture from the region of Tigray. And I believe we all have to raise our voices when we see these types of actions that is outlaw. And we are business people. I'm a businessman. He's a physician. We have no reason to spend a Sunday afternoon to discuss something like this if it wasn't important. So it is important for all of us, and I want this to be the increasing the awareness of what's happening around the world for us. Sometimes, when issues are closer to us, our voice is a little bit more louder versus if it's not in sight, then we don't actually maybe do much. And at least from my point, if we can, whatever contribution we have, this is our contribution. And I think our first video got a lot of good feedback, good reaction, and I'm hoping that we can make this available for more people and more people can understand the issue. Now, Dr. Guy, you are in this session and the last session as well. Your perspective of the issue is extremely important. And in case someone who's watching us right now, if they didn't watch the first one, if you can tell us a little bit about you and your story, what happened to you for 30 years, I believe now, just to bring us back to today from the time that you had this similar experience that we had in the region of Tigray.
Absolutely. I obviously reside and live in the United States now for many, many years. But I'm originally from Tigray. And as you and I talked about in our last session, the specter of a government waging war against its own people is something that I abhor. And obviously, it pains me to see it happen again because I lived through it as a child. And as you remember from our last conversation, my own father was killed by Ethiopian soldiers in our house when I was 15 years old. And he was an innocent breadwinner who was not involved in politics at all. And then after my dad was killed, I had to flee across wilderness and become a refugee in a neighboring country in the Sudan. And that is what I see happening again. Young people running away from their homes, young people losing their parents, parents losing their children at the hands of their own government and disrupting their life and fleeing across borders to seek refuge. That obviously, even though I am not there physically, it affects me greatly. and it is important that the world listens to the voices of the victims.
So, Dr. Gao, from after our first session and prior to our first session as well, you and I, we have reached out to our officials here in Delaware. And I'm pleased to inform everyone that we are getting good reaction from them. And I do want to acknowledge a couple of the couple of them, especially Senator Chris Coons. He he did interview the nominee Secretary of State last week, and this issue was one of the part of his discussion and part of his question, and I'm extremely happy to see that, and I do want to thank him personally on behalf of us from the Friends of Tigray. And we also reach out to Tom Carper, and just so that people understand, this is not something that we just made up. So this is a real issue, and in Tom Carper's email to us, you can actually see the acknowledgement of the issue, and this is actually, these numbers did increase after this email was maybe sent, or maybe from the time that he knew what these numbers were. So that's where we are right now, and then I do want to thank both of them, and I'm hoping that we'll stay in communication, in touch with them, and then we'll see more support from those. Now, Dr. Guy, I was going to ask you, from our point, what do we expect from them to do? If this is a different country, they're the senators of this state, why are we reaching out to them?
So, when I heard Senator Coons speak at the hearing for the confirmation for the Secretary of State, for the incoming Secretary of State, and he actually talked about the crisis, the tragedy, the humanitarian situation of the people of Tigray. As I said in my Facebook posting, I felt as if a suffocating pillow was being lifted from the breath of the people of Tigray. And I saw a lifeline. I saw somebody that has a power of doing something, is actually acknowledging that there is suffering. Because the people of Tigray, I feel right now, are under siege, completely isolated, and a brutal war is being fought against them in total darkness. When we hear the world starting to talk about it, we feel hope. And what I'm hoping is that the United States, that has always been a champion of human rights around the world, would also intervene by bringing this issue in the United Nations, by actually holding the people in power in Ethiopia and in Eritrea accountable for the victimization of civilians in thousands within Tigray.
So, Dr. Gao, I do, last time actually I shared this, and in case, in the United States, in some cases, outside of our states, many people don't know what's happening. And when we say Tigray, many people don't know where Tigray is. Many people have an idea where Ethiopia is, but they really don't know what the structure of Ethiopia is. And I do want to share this video. This is one of the YouTube channels. I didn't have it, but this time I did just turn it for us. It's less than 2 minutes, just to kind of better understand what this structure is in the Ethiopia region, so that we can actually better understand what this. We can just play this, and then hopefully.
You don't know, Ethiopia kind of has like a very reputable position in the African continent.
It was never fully colonized. Like the Italians took a stab at it for like 5 years, but it didn't really work out. Fascinating place, both in the city and the countryside. And what's even more interesting is that each region of Ethiopia has such a fascinating story in contrast with people groups and languages. You have four main ethnic families: the Habesha, Omotic, Nilotic, and Cushitic. You can travel less than 20 miles and find a completely different people group with a different writing system and language and cultural tradition than the one that you just passed through. It's amazing how the country holds itself together. Today, there are 10 regions, or Kili. Keep in mind, actually, in June of 2020, the Sidama zone actually got upgraded into a region, making it the newest region. And in addition, they have 2 charter cities, which act like regions.
So I'm just getting some feedback that I may not be sharing the right thing, so we can just try this again. Okay.
You don't know, Ethiopia kind of has like a very reputable position in the African continent. It was never fully colonized. Like the Italians took a stab at it for like 5 years, but it didn't really work out. Fascinating place, both in the city and the countryside. And what's even more interesting is that each region of Ethiopia has such a fascinating story in contrast with people groups and languages. You have 4 main ethnic families: the Habesha, Omotic, Nilotic, and Cushitic. You can travel less than 20 miles and find a completely different people group with a different writing system and language and cultural tradition than the one that you just passed through. It's amazing how the country holds itself together. Today, there are 10 regions, or Kili. Keep in mind, actually, in June of 2020, the Sidama zone actually got upgraded into a region, making it the newest region. And in addition, they have 2 charter cities, which act like regions. And on top of that,
this is the northernmost region. This is a very cool one. The area is inhabited mostly by the Tigray people, and they're basically the closest cousins to the Amharas. Both mostly Orthodox, ethnically Habesha. Their languages are partially intelligible, and they even write in the same script, the Ge'ez. The Tigray region is blessed with some of the most contrasting landscape and historical landmarks. You have the upper plateau and mountains like Saramba and Ambalaje. But the most notable thing about the Tigray region is its landmarks and monuments that date back to the kingdom of Aksum around 1st century AD. Distinguished by its rock-hewn architecture, in which entire buildings and churches were just carved out of the rock. This was where some of the earliest Ethiopian history begins, and archaeological sites pop up.
All right, so this was in the second try I could go through, so I'm actually just double checking since I don't have a panel who's actually keeping me kind of in line with this. So I was just checking to see if everything was playing, so I think it will go through very smoothly. Now, we are talking about like a country like the United States, right, Irgau?
Yep.
So this is not like some like there's a federal government and there are states. States are autonomous, and then this issue started from the elections, and then federal government didn't want to do the elections. They were thinking that it wouldn't be safe. Although during the same time in the United States, even though we had a really much bigger problem here with COVID, we were able to do our elections. And they wanted to delay, and there were probably some reason for that. Now, I don't know the politics of Ethiopia as much. The only thing that I know is the Prime Minister is certified by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee. So he's the peaceful guy. And when I see the peaceful guy killing hundreds of tens of thousands of people, kids, young kids, babies, I just, I don't know. I can't really just sleep. So, and now the problem that we want to kind of share with you is the certain things that is really kind of getting late. Like the way that we are trying to maybe take certain, by the time we are trying to do the right thing, there are already 50,000 people dying.
Yep.
Now, it's one thing that this issue stops, right? So like,
Yep.
it's maybe like there's some, I think the Tigray government is now saying that they are in charge. However, there are refugee disasters and what's happening in these refugee camps. And I'm going to share some of the news with everyone so that they can see these issues. So, all right. this is about, it's already affecting more than 2 million people, right?
Yep.
So, and a lot of minors, and this is bad. I mean, this is like child labor, child prostitution, like kidnapping. It's a disaster, and the United Nations is not there yet because they don't have access. Now, you have your extended family members there. Were you able to talk to them? This is about 2 months now, right? November, early November.
Absolutely. So I was able to talk to family members in the main capital of Tigray, Mekelle. In other places where actually most of my extended family are, like in Adwa, I have not been able to reach them yet. So I do not know what has happened to them. You know, Kemal, it's important to understand here that until November 4, when the Ethiopian army and the Eritrean army attacked Tigray, Tigray was inhabited by a people who were governed by laws administered by a government that the people of Tigray have elected. They had a structure in which people lived, children went to school, students went to college, people worked in factories and industries, patients went to functioning hospitals, people farmed their land, right? There was a border. So people were living a life which was probably the most stable in that region, right? And I talked about the fact that it was the most stable. And one of the key evidences is that that region was actually able to conduct an election during the coronavirus around September of last year, where 2.4 million people actually voted, right? And they were able to conduct that election taking all the precautions of the coronavirus. In fact, they were one of the earlier regions to adopt a very wide public health campaign to protect people from the coronavirus by teaching them about face masks, social distancing, and hand washing. And they said that they were able to do that in the election at the same time. They said we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and they were able to do that. In fact, one of the main issues that arose between the government of Tigray and the federal government of Abiy Ahmed was this issue about elections. One thing that people do not know about Abiy Ahmed, the prime minister of Ethiopia, Kemal, is that he came to power through backroom deals. He was never elected. There was no election held where he emerged victorious. So when he decided that because of the coronavirus was going to postpone the election due in May of last year, right? The government in Tigray opposed that. They opposed it because they say, first of all, we can do an election, right? We cannot really extend our mandate through our own decision. It's the people who have to decide. Secondly, there is even more a reason for you to have to do that because you were never elected. You came to power in the middle of a situation where you were never elected. So, just to finish that, Kemal, not only he was not elected, Mr. Abiy Ahmed was not elected, but he prevented the government of Tigray from conducting its own elections. They said, at the end, the government of Tigray said, okay, you do not want to hold the federal elections? Well, we as a regional government cannot extend our mandate without the people saying so. And they went ahead and conducted an election. So a region that was stable enough to conduct a very valid election during the height of coronavirus was a stable region. Compare that with the headlines that you just showed me. Refugees fleeing in their thousands, internal displacement of millions of people, property destroyed, public establishments vandalized. By whom? Not only by the Ethiopian army, but by an invading foreign army as well. The Eritrean army is wreaking havoc inside Tigray. There are reports not only of killing, looting, vandalization, but also rape, things we have not heard since Rwanda and Bosnia. at a scale that is unimaginable, Kamal, right? So a region with that stability just 2.5 to 3 months ago has been turned into a total nightmare by the government of that region, as well by invading army that was invited by that government. The Eritrean troops in Tigray are accountable to no one. Of course, they were not elected by, they were not part of an elected government in Ethiopia or in Tigray. They are foreign, and they are coming and wreaking havoc because they have no accountability, right? For all accounts, they may not even be paid by their own governments, and the looting that they have been asked to undertake, maybe the payment for their services, in fact, looting of many things from Tigray and then taking it in Eritrea is happening, and there are witnesses talking about it. So a region that was stable by its own regional government now has been attacked by the federal government. The regional government of Tigray is not there, obviously, because the armies of Ethiopia and Eritrea have been able to occupy the capital, right? But there is no law and order. The people are suffering.
So, we have United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to just make this like in some way that is meaningful for someone, or like having some common sense in this. So, where is United Nations in this? And I do want to actually just give a little background on what United Nations is supposed to be doing. So if I can just share this with everyone. So once we have the international law is violated and we have this type of issue, this is like, Ethiopia is on the northern side of Africa. So therefore, it's not like just far from everything else. It's right close to Europe. It's not that far from Europe, right? So now we have United Nations, and what is it that what is United Nations, and what does it do? So I just did a Google search, of course, and I just got this from their website.
Mm-hmm.
This is 51 countries for the international peace and security, developing friendly relations among nations and promoting social progress, better living standards and human rights. When you say there are rapes, when you say there are people being killed right in the middle of the world, then here are the four main purposes: to keep peace throughout the world. So you certify somebody the Nobel Peace Prize, and then you are just giving them the killing certification of kill, and then how are you going to have a friendly? Oh, yeah, there is a friendly relationship. So now Eritrea is invading Ethiopia because Tigray is part of Ethiopia to help the old enemy. How is that like making any sense to anyone? Like, just think about it. Like, we are asking Mexico to help us with our Texas problem, and then they are in our borders.
Yep.
So this is why actually maybe I'm feeling very strongly about this issue. Otherwise, if it was some other conflict and if it was an equal power in some ways, yes, that's fine. Now you kill people, you make their life, and then now you tell me that the United Nations supposed to be keeping these things together. It's 3 months. They did the same thing in Bosnia. How many people have to die before you act on this? How many more sessions do you have to do? If there are a number of sessions we have to repeat, I'll do 10 every day. So stop the madness. Of course, this is, look, I'm not from Ethiopia or from Tigray. I was born and raised in Turkey and came to the United States at age 24, 25. So being here for 22 years. Okay, so I never knew some of these problems at this level. I do have, my major is in political science and business, but never understood some of these things as good as it is now, that it's been 22 years in the United States, understanding the hypocrisy of the Western world. This is my own perspective. I live here. I benefit from what this country provides, but we demand more, not for me, but for the people. Now, I have to be honest, I was not a big fan of this little girl because I thought she was just spoiled. And this is my personal opinion. We can agree to disagree. Greta Thunberg, this whole show, because she lost, we actually stole her dreams. I mean, the world has to, we have to wake up, people. We stolen her dream because the world is not clean enough. That's, I'm so sorry that we but kiss my ass, people. Look, this is the stolen life. These two kids are same age. What dreams you are talking about? This person on the right side doesn't have dreams because she has to be awake to stay alive or being raped. And where is the United Nations? Now look at these two. Like two people, one from Sweden, I believe, and one from, this is a real picture. This is from United Nations page. You can see the logo there.
Absolutely.
This tells you like more than a million words, right? Like, how long does it have to go that you actually have everything's complete? Look at these people, what they have to go through. This guy, Ken Toast. So I do follow him. Sometimes I disagree with him with certain things, but he's sharing this from Reuters, and then it's the choice of being raped or killed is what we are discussing here.
Yeah.
In 2021,
yep.
It's a shame.
Yep.
Shame for all of us that we are not letting this stop. So therefore, United Nations needs to move very quickly and stop the madness. These people are going to die, and there will be more people die. And we have enough things to worry about in the world. Enough shame we already have in the history. We don't need to add more. So
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you brought the United Nations, Kemal. I believe the first and most important thing that has to happen is that United Nations has to demand that the Eritrean troops leave Tigray, right? If the Ethiopian government wants to preserve an ounce of credibility, the very first thing they have to do is escort this foreign, unaccountable army out of Tigray, because that army is wreaking havoc. It has no accountability. It is destroying everything that it finds in its wake. It's killing people. It's abducting refugees that has escaped it. Eritreans that have escaped and found sanctuary in Tigray, they have no sanctuary anymore because the troops from whom they have escaped, now they are at the doorsteps of their refugee camps. They are abducting these refugees and taking them back by force into Eritrea. This should never happen anywhere under the watch of the United Nations. So the very first thing we need is a strong voice from the United Nations, from the decency of the world, to tell the Eritrean government to withdraw its troops from Tigray. Because the lack of accountability of that army, right, and the inability for anybody to be able to be a witness to what they're doing right now is what is creating the greatest tragedy. Kemal, you and I are talking about what we know right now. There is a lot more we don't know about the tragedy that is occurring in that place, because it's been almost 3 months where there is no provision, there is no medicine, there is no electricity, there is no basics. A place that has 6 million people has been encircled by its own government and by a foreign government with nothing coming from outside. Right?
Wow.
The last time this has happened, as you correctly said, with the United Nations intervened too late, was in Rwanda and in Bosnia, Kemal. And guess what? There were rapes there as well. And we are hearing about rapes now of young women, right? Of females that are being forced to offer their services or being killed or negated basic provisions, right? an army with no accountability doing what it wants.
So, Dr. Gao, this is really important because one of the, I was actually just kind of preparing for this. Well, I had to prepare because I don't know the topic very well, so then I just want to watch some of the other, what other people are saying. And there was I think it was Al Jazeera, because it's not you can't find anything on CNN or Fox. Like right now, like we are shut down, so it's all about Biden and Trump. So now I have to watch Al Jazeera to get the news, right? So now here there are some idiots out there who think that this is all made up, it's not real. So while I was doing my search, I'd like to share this with our audience. So this is a real satellite image. Okay, so if you look at the date change here, what I was able to just see is how these buildings here are being destroyed.
Absolutely.
So like,
Absolutely.
this is the December. And then January, they're gone.
So this is powerful, Kemal, because it tells us indirectly also the things we cannot see through the satellite images, and that is the suffering of the people, real people who lived there, worked there, went to school there, went to get help in hospitals there. Those have been destroyed completely under the watch of their own government, right? No government should be going to war against its own people, allied to a foreign army with no accountability. This should never happen, Kemal. That's why the very first thing has to be exit of the Eritrean army from Tigray, right? They were denying it at the beginning. The Ethiopian government denied it. The Eritrean government denied it. But now we know, in fact, Ethiopian army officers have been openly saying not only that the Eritrean troops are in Tigray, but they don't know how to get them out from there, right? It is tragic how the Tigray people have been really given to the vultures at night, right? To the wolves at night, with no protection at all. The only government that they elected themselves, the Tigray regional government, has been pushed out, right? A government they elected, a government that was governing them by laws that they have enacted, right? Now there is lawlessness with an army with no accountability, looting, killing, and raping. Somebody from outside has to go in and do something about this, Kemal. It is a big tragedy.
If the United Nations doesn't do anything, okay, each country can put their reaction out there. So, well, because I'm from Turkey, and then because I know our president in Turkey, Mr. Erdogan, he's one of the people who challenges the United Nations. So if he's watching this at some point, I also want him to look into this, because Turkey is doing a lot of business in Africa. Well, it's a great way to build relationships, but so this actually is from Financial Times this morning. Just came out a couple of days ago, I think maybe about a week ago. Now, this is what I see here. Where was it? The amount of work that now the business that we are doing in Turkey and Ethiopia is pretty big. So let's see here. Sometimes I have it on my iPad, and then okay. So here is Ethiopia being the second most populous country, and then all the Turkey now partnered with Ethiopia, the third biggest investor. So cut it off, Mr. Erdogan.
Absolutely. So
just do something, because this is. I mean, I don't want to see my plan with the country that's killing its own people.
Absolutely. And Kemal, it's interesting to see that definitely Turkey was one of the important investment partners with Ethiopia now for some years, right? And we had, for the last, I would say 10, 15 years, there was growth of the economy in Ethiopia under a government that was committed to eradicating poverty as its first priority, right? And part of that government were actually the leaders that have been hunted in Tigray right now. They've achieved a lot, right? And many investors flocked into Ethiopia with great hopes, right? The growth of the economy was unparalleled in the world. Now it was growing with double digits for many years. Now, with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, his priority has become to assert his authority and to rule without consent, right? And then when there was rebellion, when there was really opposition to him, his answer was to create an alliance with dictatorial regimes in the surrounding countries and then go to war against these regions. When there is a war, Kemal, when there is no peace, there is no growth. Investors are going to be running away from Ethiopia right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens even with Turkish companies. Why? Because of the destruction. I told you, until November 4th, the region of Tigray had the stability of a region that was able to conduct an election during the coronavirus with a participation of over 2 million people. That is stability. That is governance, right? Mr. Abiy Ahmed destroyed that. He invited a foreign army from Eritrea with no accountability, and we have now refugees. We have now people fleeing their homes. We have now internal displacements. And very, very shortly, I believe Ethiopia is going to be at the top of the countries that are actually having the greatest tragedies because of wars, right? It was not the case until Mr. Abiy came to power. So, you know, going back to our issue about what the world needs to do, Kemal, I think the very first important thing to do is to get the harmful army out of Tigray, get the Eritrean army to get out of Tigray, right? Because that lack of accountability from an army that has been brutalized for years, you know, in a dictatorial state like Eritrea, is the one that is causing the most harm right now. They have to leave, right? Access needs to be given to humanitarian organizations without any impediment so they can help the people in need. So we can prevent deaths. So we can prevent rapes, right? So that what happened in Rwanda, so that what happened in Bosnia is not repeated also in Tigray.
So it's going to be too late, what I'm seeing, because I was just, you know, preparing this is one thing, but just putting them on top of each other: starvation, rape, child labor, being displaced from your home being destroyed. In this day and age, we shouldn't be talking about this.
Absolutely.
When, you know, the Greta Thunberg of the world is just worrying about the green or not having enough green, and then on the other side, my African family is dying and being raped, and that's the world that we don't want to live in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, you know, the sad part is to do stuff right now. I mean, honestly, as I'm actually talking about it, it's just making me a little bit more emotional. Like, I didn't realize it was, as you're just reading them back to back, it's just bad, right? So the part of the issue, like when you and I, we talked about after we took over our surgery center, one of the things that you and I, we discussed is charity in Ethiopia. And then I remember calling you one day and I said, look, we have all these extra equipment and we have the, you know, the manpower with our surgeons, with our other physicians. We have 200 physicians just in Delaware. So can we actually, you know, do something in Ethiopia? And I haven't been there, you know, but we were planning. And we actually had, you know, these dreams. Now, yes, my dreams are stolen too.
Yeah.
So this is not the way that we want to actually build the world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's sad.
It is sad. It is sad. But, you know, decent people like yourself, Kemal, can make a change, right? By raising the issue, by bringing it up. I mean, yes, you and I talked about establishing a health center in Tigray, right? And my dream was to name it under my father who passed, through the violence in the past, right? We can do it again. Come on, we can do it. We just have to let the world know what is happening right now, and also let the people of Tigray know that they have support, that there is enough decency in the world, that there is enough indignation in the world for people to stand with them and support them in this very, very dark time. And they will come out of this as well. And people like me and yourself, Kemal, will go back into that region and help them rebuild it. That can happen. That has to drive us. We cannot lose hope, right? But we have to persist. We have to call the inhuman acts of those in power in Ethiopia and Eritrea out, expose them, and also demand that all people with decency everywhere, that they call this out as well, that silence is not acceptable.
And, we are gonna probably do another session in the next couple of weeks. So in the meantime, if people are watching this, our goal is to just make everyone aware of this. We don't have any political ties with anyone, not whatsoever. So we just need this to be heard by more people so that it's not too late. So
Absolutely.
if you're hearing our message, please share with others. And I know that so many people reach out to us, they actually watch our video, and I'm sure there will be more with this one. And if we can make a change in the world, that's the only goal that we have. But I don't know if you have any other comments before we close.
No, I think, this is it, Kemal. I do think that people need to demand that Eritrean troops are out of Tigray, that their unaccountable presence is wreaking havoc to a population that is already devastated by the deprivation created by its own government, the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So people need to demand that Eritrean troops out of Tigray.
All right, Dr. Irgau, I know you're on call today, and thank you again for being available for this. And we'll be back soon. Until then, please stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kemal. Stay safe, everybody, and thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.